I got my boy Negative Nate here in the negative zone with his negativity to tackle Assassin's Creed. We're taking Ubisoft down a couple of pegs.
We are.
If the accusations of abuse or workplace disasters didn't already do it, we're going to finally jam the final hidden blade in here with the 5 biggest disappointments that Assassin's Creed has spawned throughout the series and just around the series in general. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. We are usually positive, but feeling a little angry today. I gotta redirect my anger at this corporate entity and really put them down, so...
I'm sure Ubisoft's gonna go out of business after this
They're
video.
gonna be really upset. Number 5.
Not ever making a game that is back in the original style. Now, I think what we mean by this, and maybe I'll let you take over here.
No Confederate Civil War game.
Well,
what is
exactly?
going on
Come on.
here? Come on.
Come on. No, I think what we mean by this is we're both fine with the RPG style of game. I like it.
I like it a lot. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's very fun. And I'm fine with them continuing that. However, it would be nice to also add in an original style of game also.
Yeah.
You
why
know?
not do a side game?
Yeah, why not have like Origins, then maybe before you release Odyssey, release like an original style one, then go back to the RPG and Odyssey, then do another one, then Valhalla.
Well, the one I don't get is we've talked about settings before for this franchise, and...
Like Civil War.
Actually, yes. But some of those settings would be very easy to do with descendants of original characters that were in the original style.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm not going to go out of my way here to try and pronounce it again, but Connor's daughter, who has like an enhanced eagle vision, and she has the ability to mentally connect with animals, like spirit animals and stuff. That would be a really cool setting for a game, especially an original game.
Right.
This series can be more than one thing. And there are a ton of fans of the original style who want it back. You know, maybe every 5 years you give them, I don't know, a 30-hour experience game that's with an older character or a new character tying into an older story. They tried to do this with Assassin's Creed Chronicles, but they changed the style completely.
Yeah.
And so my question is, why can't you, instead of doing that now, just do the original style, but the Chronicles idea? Smaller, more focused experience. You can still do open world, but the original style of games that a lot of people connected with and are disappointed is gone.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't do this. Why can't we get like another Ezio trilogy?
Maybe not. Maybe not that.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't get why we can't get a sequel to Assassin's Creed 3, for example, with Connor's daughter.
Or 4.
Why can't we get a sequel to Edward?
Everyone asked for 4. Have you noticed that?
I have.
Like, the main thing that people ask for online that I've seen around these games is bring back like a Black Flag type sequel.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people who say that didn't play Rogue because it was kind of flew under the radar, which I recommend playing Rogue.
It's a good game.
If you like 4, you'd really like Rogue. But why not bring that back when that's what the fans are asking for?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it.
Number 4. It's the 4th one.
4.
All right, the next one on our list is one I'm going to actually let you kind of talk about, is refusing to canonize the other games in Ubisoft.
Yeah, this is stupid, by the way. They keep doing this crap where they're like, hey, look, you had Garneau from Assassin's Creed 4 in the real world in the sections where you're walking around Abstergo, and he's the big CEO guy. And then all of a sudden in Watch Dogs, you have basically Aiden Pierce take this guy down. And then later on, they actually show in the background that they actually show Aiden Pierce executing Garneau on one of the monitors. And there's questions of like, well, did that really happen? Or did he go into hiding and Abstergo faked that to be like, look, he's dead, but he's actually in hiding? There's a lot of questions like that. And Aiden Pierce is actually contacted by the Brotherhood of Assassins, the modern Brotherhood of Assassins. He's working in Chicago, modern day, and he's contacted by them in a quest in Watch Dogs 1 to actually take out Garneau, which is an Abstergo employee and a member of the Templars. And that's not all of it. Okay, there's also things like in Far Cry, you have crates that are marked Abstergo, where like they came from Abstergo. You can explain that one away. Maybe it's just an Easter egg. You can't explain away multiple connections between Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed. And then on top of all of that, they added a playable assassin character to Watch Dogs Legion. She is an assassin. But Ubisoft keeps going like, well, it's all just fun. It's all just Easter eggs. It's not canon. It's like, why do you keep bringing it up then? Like, literally, when you go in the comment sections of these things, I know the argument will be, well, that's your headcanon. You can't control the corporate canon. I know that's the thing, but the people who pay the bills for these games to be made, the fans, you know what they're doing? They take it as canon. Mm-hmm. They're talking in the comments, like on the new, I guess it's not new anymore, but when they introduced the assassin playable character to Legion, people are like, oh, maybe this ties into this, maybe this ties into this. And our people are saying, well, they said it's not canon. And people tell them, shut up. Mm-hmm. Like, people literally are like, shut up. Like, they don't accept that it's not. So it's one of those things where you either have to divorce it and stop doing that, or accept that it is. Like, why are you embarrassed by it? Like, Assassin's Creed is somehow the crown jewel, but Watch Dogs and Just Dance and Ghost Recon, that shit's embarrassing. Don't talk about it.
I want a Just Dance Easter egg in the next Assassin's Creed.
Me too. I want to play as Ezio in the background of one of the games of Just Dance.
Me too.
Why make these games if you're embarrassed of them? And,
right.
and why even introduce those crossovers in the first place if they're somehow embarrassing or not worth doing?
Yeah, I guess my biggest problem with it is they put all those Easter eggs in the game for a reason. This is more than just an Easter egg, right? An Easter egg is something like an Assassin's Creed Origins, where you go into, I forgot what lake it is, but there's a lake that you can literally swim down, and there's the TARDIS from Doctor Who at the bottom of the lake. That's an Easter egg, where It's kind of like, hey, that's a nice, fun little hidden thing there. An Easter egg is not. Aiden Pierce executes the head of Abstergo, and it's shown in multiple things and referenced. Like, that's not an Easter egg.
No, you play it.
That is literally just a thing that happens. And then they're like, well, I don't know if that happens. We don't know. It's a fun thing. It's like, this isn't a fun thing. This is an event.
This is serious.
This is serious Ubisoft.
This isn't a fun thing. This is my life.
But it's like, this is an event that happens.
Right.
That is referenced multiple times. Like, why?
I just don't look forward to the threats being sent to Ubisoft from Garno fan 69 over here, like in their next live stream, when they're like unveiling a game and it's like, canonize it or else.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those things where they made you play it. They made you play it, and not even just from the angle of one character, from multiple.
Yeah.
And it's multiple playable things. You know, when you have these pile up over and over and over and over again, it becomes story.
Yeah, and that's to me what I don't get is it's like you've made it part of the story. Mm-hmm. And then now you're kind of backing out on that where it's like, well, actually, I don't know if that's part of the story. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Who is this fun to?
It's what do you want it to be?
Right.
Do you want it to be canon or not?
Number three.
Alright, the next one we have is refusing to merchandise the series.
Okay, this is gonna sound bad. Cause
I want more microtransactions.
No, that's not what I mean. Not in the game. But what I mean by this, because I came up with this one mainly, it's something we've talked about before. If you are a fan of something, now some people I know don't want this, but if you're a fan of something, like say you love Fallout, maybe what you want to do is you want to go out and buy a Funko Pop of the Vault Boy. And you put it on your desk and that's fun. You know, it's something in real life that reminds you of the thing you like. That's really all it is. It's just a decoration, a fun thing. Well, Ubisoft can't figure that out.
Right.
They did like a line of Funko Pops years ago, and then they randomly did 2 of the male Eivor. You know, they did a couple of those.
They didn't even do Bayek or Cassandra.
And they ignored female Eivor.
Yeah.
To make 2 of the male one. And so what I'm getting at with this is, oh, well, yeah, that's Funko. Well, no, Ubisoft is actually licensing that out. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's them too. They don't really make affordable stuff for people to have fun with. They'll make things like the Animus figures. They're $900.
Right.
And then for the normal people like us, it's like, well, can you afford a $40 beach towel?
Right.
And that's what they have. And what I'm saying with that is, it almost seems like Ubisoft is painfully out of touch with their demographic. The main people who play their games are middle-class people, or lower middle class, or even upper lower class people. And I don't mean like value or race. I mean like money income. You know, when you look at what those people are wanting to put into the series, and you have mega fans of this series who are wanting to throw their money at Ubisoft for stuff and they can't, it just seems really odd. But yet they have no problem with releasing tons of DLCs that are paid, which I get they're fun, but they don't have a problem with that, and they don't have a problem with microtransaction stuff that they'll throw in different games over the years. I don't really understand what they're thinking, and I'm sure that they're way smarter than us. You know, they have their corporate people who crunch the numbers and probably decide what's worth making, but a good example of what I'm looking for is something like the Orlog game that they just made.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing, I think it's $40 US now, and it's a game from inside Assassin's Creed Valhalla for fans of that game. It's a board game you play, and you can just pay $40 in real life and buy that and play it with friends as a board game.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is kind of what I'm looking for, of like, why don't you want to let people engage with this series in different ways that keep them coming back to the series and wanting to play more anyway? Because it reminds them. Like, literally think about this. Every time you walk by, you know, your Ezio Funko or your Edward Funko, you think, I like Assassin's Creed, if you, like, look at it. You know, that's just smart marketing for them. But I guess a beach towel or a $900 figure makes sense to them.
I think they used to be good at this.
Yeah, those old Funkos.
Yeah, they used to release Funko Pops. I remember they used to have, like, really kind of tacky but fun merchandise back in the day. Like, they'd have, like, Altair's, like, hoodie. It was just, like, his outfit, but in a hoodie form.
Mm-hmm.
There was just kind of, like, fun little things that were fun.
The cheap hidden blades, you remember those?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
and
and they were like for teenagers, because they were like 30 or 40 bucks, and now they're like, what, 100?
They used to be good at this, but for some reason, somewhere along the way, they fell out of line with this, and I think they stopped selling affordable, great merchandise. Like, for example, Fallout. I'm not saying the Bethesda store is perfect. It's not.
A little overpriced.
It is. But they have a lot of merchandise. If you go through there, you can buy like a Nuka-Cola truck.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy like a Minuteman flag. Like, there's a lot of like fun stuff you can buy there. That
I bought Nate one for his birthday.
You did?
Minuteman flag.
It's awesome.
Good guy Jay.
Good friend. But like, Assassin's Creed doesn't have this. Like, if you look through the Ubisoft store, it's lame stuff. Like, I'm literally looking at it right now. It's like a t-shirt. And like, the t-shirt's not exactly like the coolest thing ever.
Or $300 canvas prints if you want to get the full size. If you want to get a tiny one, it's like $30, but if you want to get a full size image, it's like $300.
Yeah, or like a mask.
Before we get too far off track with the merchandising, have you noticed that even the special editions of their games went downhill?
Yes.
Like, do you remember the collector's editions for things like Assassin's Creed 3? We're looking at it right now.
They came with a cool like statue
of Connor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the most high value thing ever, but it's pretty detailed, and it came with the game. It wasn't that expensive, and it was just kind of a memento to remind you, like, hey, this game's cool. You care about this franchise, clearly, because you pre-ordered this big thing. I had the same thing with the original Dark Souls 2, where I think it's called the Faram Knight armor set, and I have the statue for it, and they're made of plastic, but they were just kind of fun little things that they threw back to the community, like, hey, thanks for being willing to give us money for our product. Let's give you something fun for your money.
Right.
It just kind of seems like that ideology is gone now. It's almost like you owe us our money. Pay for the game. Okay, now wait to consume next year.
Right.
And it's kind of to me like, why? Like, why did we go down that road?
And it's really disappointing to me, because I would buy like all this stuff.
I know, this is Nate's favorite video game franchise.
Yes.
Of all time.
I would buy statues. I would buy every Funko.
Like, anybody who thinks I like this franchise, I'd say you like it 10 times as much as me. And I love the Assassin's Creed games. So it's like, you know, you have these major fans who want to get involved and get invested, and they just can't. Number two, the numero dos.
The next one on our list is how they handled the real-world narrative and mythology.
So what pisses me off.
Yeah, so what we mean by this is, in the original Assassin's Creed, I'm talking before the RPG stuff happened.
So Syndicate and earlier.
Yes, 1 through Syndicate. There was this real-world story with Desmond and how Desmond interacted with not just the world around him, but the outer world, or whatever you want to call it, the supernatural world.
Yeah, the mythology, the Isu, and the...
With, like, Minerva and Juno and, like, the gods and the first civilization and, like, all these people.
The pieces of Eden, and those were given supernatural powers. Even Christianity played into it, too, where you had things like, you know, Jesus of Nazareth had a piece of Eden, and then there were questions of, like, well, was he really a god, or was he just a guy with, like, a relic? You know, you had these questions in the series that were interesting and tied into mythology. It's weird how they had all this mythology in the originals, then they shied away from it at points, where they're like, we can't do the supernatural, explain it away with tech. And now all of a sudden, in the new style of games, like, every god imaginable is canon and exists. It's like Smite. And we point out, by the way, we think all this is cool.
Oh yeah, I think it's awesome.
Because you were a huge fan.
I think it's awesome.
Like, when they had, like, the Loki stuff and everything,
yes.
I remember you texting me and being like, hey, I know you haven't played Valhalla yet, but this is amazing. Like, you get to, like, check out Jotunheim and all this other stuff. So we're not complaining about that existing.
No.
What we're complaining about is the inconsistency of the series and how it doesn't rationalize and mesh well with itself. You know, like, that original mythology and story, they went away from when they started to go away from the real world, because they thought that it would be better to be immersive and be just in the Animus type stuff.
Yeah.
They started going away from it. And that made sense, although it frustrated fans of the series like us, because we were invested in that side of the story too. And then they randomly tried to bring it back multiple times. And again, it was an issue of not rationalizing and meshing well with itself. Like, do you want to do the real world story or not? Like, why are we analyzing Desmond's DNA or his body to go to a different thing? Or why are we recreating ancestor memories as video games now?
Right.
It's almost like they're banking on new fans every game to not ask questions.
Yeah.
Number 1!
Splat.
The final one we have is probably the biggest one.
Uh-oh.
Assassin's Creed Unity launch.
Yeah, that was really bad.
This is one of the worst launches, I think, in gaming history.
Yeah, it reminds me of Arkham Knight's PC launch.
Yeah.
Where it was just an absolute disaster. This almost killed Assassin's Creed, by the way.
It did, yeah.
And it actually did kill it for, what, a year and a half or 2 years? Where they just really backed off. Thank God, though, it did. Like, yeah. I'm actually glad, because this was a trend at the time. This still happens. Release games unfinished, boo-hoo, you know, like, and figure it out later. But this was like the peak of that practice, where like everybody was doing this. It was like, whatever, they'll buy it anyway, the bunch of losers. It was so tiring. And I think that this and later on, Battlefront 2.
Yes.
Those two were like the straws that broke the camel's back. Like, people had enough.
Yeah, with Unity, it was especially bad because the game had so many problems. It was totally unfinished. Remember, like, when the game first launched? Remember, like, people couldn't even play the game?
And there's always the one person who avoided the issues and says, I didn't have that, but thousands of people did.
Right.
And unlike Arkham Knight, it wasn't just on one platform. It was every platform for Unity. You know what sucks about this? I recently went back and played some of Unity. It has one of the best climbing systems in a video game I have ever seen.
It's great.
Climbing up, climbing down. You know, they introduced the quick climb down feature, crouching. This should have been the game to revolutionize Assassin's Creed. And instead it was the one that put a nail in the coffin where, like, people left. That was a nice
history reference, by the way.
Thank you very much.
French Revolution.
Still, like, even now, people still don't buy these games.
Yeah.
Like, there are people, and I know you and I have feelings about this too, because the games have moved on. It's a little unfair at this point to still hold Unity against them. Half the people who made Unity probably don't even work at Ubisoft.
Well, and plus they also went back and fixed a lot of stuff.
Right, and that's the sucky thing, though, is there are people who don't care. Like, this was their last exposure to Assassin's Creed. This to them is where Assassin's Creed died.
Yeah.
It was such a bad impression that you lost thousands of fans who never came back. Now, I'm sure it doesn't matter, because, like, if you look at Valhalla and you look at Odyssey and all these games, they are record sales numbers. Because there's more, but here's the thing, there's more gamers now than there were back then. You shouldn't have lost all those people that were so invested in the first place, and you did. You blew, like, all the goodwill of the franchise out the window, and it was already going out the window. And even with that launch, they didn't remove the microtransactions.
Yeah.
This was, like, the first game to really microtransact Assassin's Creed. Like, with the Animus points and upgrading weapons or buying weapons and stuff like that, and taking shortcuts. Time savers, stuff like that. It had sort of existed before, but this one really pushed it. And it was like insult to injury.
The thing that really bothers me is that the game that came after this was Syndicate. And I actually love Syndicate.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone hates on Syndicate because the game that came out before it was Unity. And I feel like oftentimes Syndicate gets overlooked or forgotten or whatever because of how bad Unity was. And like people didn't even want to give it a chance, so then therefore that game kind of flopped a little bit.
Do you remember how bad this was, by the way? A lot of people don't remember this when I asked them. They canceled the DLCs for this.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dead Kings was given out for free.
I remember that.
And the rest? Nope. Nothing happened. And they were only going to make Dead Kings. No, they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They were not ever going to only make Dead Kings.
If this game did really well, they were going to make more.
Right. I mean, look at what they're doing now and look at what they did, back then. They wanted to make more, clearly. It's just this murdered the franchise and the fandom.
Well, to me, this is just like the most disappointing gaming thing ever. To be honest. I mean, I stuck around because I loved the series and I was willing to...
You were so upset.
I was.
I remember when we played this because...
And it was kind of like, oh, this is so bad.
A lot of people didn't play Rogue because they thought it would just be poor man's Unity.
Right.
But it's not. It's not at all. It's like a spiritual successor to Black Flag.
Yeah.
Where you play as a Templar.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember when that game came out. I remember I was so confused because it was like, what is the game? And I remember for a while I literally thought like Unity and Rogue were the same thing. It's just maybe there was a different name or something.
Like a worse version.
Right. And like, I mean, I was a kid, so I was an idiot.
You're still an idiot.
Without the internet to like confirm this stuff. So I remember there was like dumb marketing around that too, where it was kind of like, well, what is Unity? What is Rogue? What is the game? What game are we getting? And then it's like, oh wait, they're releasing 2 games. But then you never saw anything about Rogue.
And weirdly, Rogue is oddly polished.
Yeah.
Like the Rogue team did a good job.
That came out really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Unity was the one that took the forefront because of how bad it was.
Yeah. And Unity is a completely different experience now. Like, I'm not saying it's my favorite. It's not at all. It's not in my top 3 Assassin's Creed games that I've played. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a really good one now. I think that the story is fun. I think they made some mistakes along the way, especially with that launch. But I genuinely think a lot of people will never experience what is now a good game because of that. And it frustrates me very much that I understand why. Like, Ubisoft made their bed with this. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really ever go away when you make a mistake that big.
Yeah.
Well, these are our top 5 biggest disappointments or mistakes in the Assassin's Creed franchise /series /around Ubisoft with the series. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are some mistakes that you think they made? I know one of the top comments will probably be switching to RPG because a lot of people don't like that.
Right.
But I'm interested, what do you think? I guess another question I have for you is, why do you think these games still do so well? Now, what I mean by that is not like justify your purchase or justify why you hate it, but I'm genuinely curious to the people in the comments section, like, with all the people who dislike the RPG elements and all the mistakes they've made, what do you think it is about Assassin's Creed that keeps it going and coming back? Because I'm interested. What it is for you or someone you know or whatever. Let us know. Thanks. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic day. As always, everyone, stay shway.